Did you know that quietly behind the scenes and taking advantage of the public's focus on the Biden raid of Mar-a-Lago, the United States gold standard public health agency, the CDC, effectively ended all of its most serious COVID restrictions on Thursday? NPR summarizes the changes like this. New COVID-19 guidance from CDC focuses on individual decisions. Those exposed to the virus are no longer required to quarantine. Unvaccinated people now have the same guidance as vaccinated people. Students can stay in class after being exposed to the virus. It's no longer recommended to screen those without symptoms. Not only that, but the CDC also ended test to stay, which means that students exposed to COVID aren't even recommended to take a test. Therefore, any school district continuing testing isn't following science and are going against the CDC, the gold standard. These changes, of course, led to screeching and whining from some deranged teachers and their unions, threatening to quit, which, given the crap that some of them post on TikTok, would only do wonders for our education. So go ahead, teachers. This is a remarkable turn of events, but maybe the most remarkable is NPR's third bullet point. Unvaccinated people now have the same guidance as vaccinated people. Say what? Now, I'm not complaining, but why, experts? What changed? Of course, the activist media, who were simply outraged, ran that one down right away. After all, fear porn equals more eyeballs, which equals more money, which ultimately equals more control. Unfortunately, Rochelle must have been on a journey from Milan to Minsk. Seinfeld. Our very own Rochelle Walensky couldn't be found for comment. So Greta, not that one. But Massetti, director of the CDC's Field Epidemiology and Prevention Branch, answered the question at a press conference. From Reuters, both prior infections and vaccination confer some protection against severe illness, and so it really makes the most sense not to differentiate with our guidance or our recommendations based on vaccination status at this time, Dr. Massetti told reporters. Hey, I thought you couldn't use the N-word in polite company. Natural infection, which leads to, of course, natural immunity. This may very well be the first official recognition from the CDC that natural infection provides comparable protection to the injections. Is it better? I'll leave that for you to decide, as I'm not a scientist nor a doctor. But the CDC hasn't even admitted this much until now. However, the about face doesn't stop there. Take a closer look at her statement. She said, both prior infection and vaccination confer some protection against severe illness. Some protection, folks, some. In other words, they're no longer saying the injections confer good protection anymore, just some. Their words, not mine, YouTube, so don't cancel me. Now, if I were one of those folks who obediently followed the recommendations of the government, media, and experts, and had taken the injection last year or this year based on the assurances at the time, I'd be pretty much pissed about right now. From my vantage point, it sure seems like people who took the injections got shortchanged. They believed that the injections were vastly superior to natural infection. Why wouldn't they? After all, the experts, government, and media said so. Whoops, not apparently, and not anymore. I'm sure the social media czars must be working fervently to restore the reputations of all the doctors and scientists who got unceremoniously canceled from Facebook and Twitter, and of course, YouTube, for saying natural infection was just as good as the injections. Anyways, this change in recommendations is massive. All the local governments and private employers who treat their unvaccinated people differently in the US now find themselves opposed to the CDC guidance. They're anti-science. Now employers don't have cover from the CDC anymore for imposing two-tier employment based on vaccination status. I'm certain that as you're reading or watching this, lawsuits are being drafted against employers who are still discriminating against unvaccinated workers. This is a new day, folks, one for which lots of folks have been fighting, figuratively, and waiting for. Finally, in the same presser, Dr. Massetti also said that recommendations such as the healthcare guidance, travel guidance, and guidance for congregate settings at high risk of transmission will also be updated by the CDC in the coming week or so. Could that mean that a certain unvaccinated tennis star may be able to actually play in the US Open after all? Of course, not everyone is happy about this. COVIDians on Twitter were outraged by the CDC's sudden betrayal. Some of the comments were, "It's not the gold standard anymore, more like brass. They're political hacks. This pandemic isn't over. Everyone is immunocompromised since about 10 minutes ago." Don't believe me? Go to the cesspool that's called Twitter. There you'll find countless posts predicting the end of the world. Who could have guessed there were so many closet Christians awaiting Armageddon on Twitter? Well, I would have never thought. Now, I don't quite know what to say about these folks except I feel sorry for them. Their brains, and most importantly, critical thinking skills, were fragmented by a relentless military-level psychops during this pandemic, and unfortunately have turned to mush. Anyways, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. Please post any comments you have in the comment section. You can also follow me on my Rumble and my Locals account, and I will see you next time.